have all the technology aligned and the satellites and the. Are we ready? All right. Let's call the October 5th, 2023 Utility Commission meeting to order. Mrs. Hall, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
All right. We have a quorum. Let's move on to the approval of minutes, September 7th, 2023. Hopefully everybody had a chance to peruse the thorough discussion we had at the last meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion, corrections on these minutes? Okay. All in favor for approval, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, let me do some check marks here. Okay, adjustment journal. This is the September. We have, it looks like 2 pages. So some of the things that were voted on last time have reflected in this. That's good. I guess these are the same. I have 2 of the same because I guess I had one for. All right, 1 page. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion or comments on the September adjustment journal? All right, all in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Adjustment journal approved. Good work. All right, new business. Our goal is to take folks that are here to visit and discuss their issues first. So we have George Small, if you would come to the podium and introduce yourself and provide your address for the record that you are wanting to talk about. Which address?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. My name's George Small. I live at 205 Duke Street. I do business at 104 Ringgold Street. On May 31st, I purchased a home on 106 Curtis Street, East Curtis Street. To my knowledge, the property had been vacant for 2 or 3 years. It's a long story. It was in the courts on a land contract that went south and so forth, and I was trying to help a friend. So I ended up buying the property. I had it for a little over 2 months and sold it on July 17th. No one ever lived there. I never contracted to have water turned on, was never told anything about water at the property. After I sold it on, let's see, July 25th, so that'd be 8 days after I sold the property, I get a bill from the water department for $94.22. I thought, well, my experience in the past with the water department is that the water bill goes with the property. I no longer owned it, so I disregarded that bill. Then September 11th, I received another bill, and that one's now for $140.30. I don't know why the difference, but anyway, I talked to the water department, and they said something about that what I should have done is get a waiver. I did not know that. I know that there's a gas line to the property. I did not have the gas turned on. I didn't need to. And so there's therefore no charges. So who would have thought that there's a charge for service that you don't use? And so I'm here today to ask you to perhaps consider waiving that, which is now $140.30 for service that I never received.
Right. So the bill would be 3 parts. You'd have water, wastewater, and stormwater. So we'll ask the water office to kind of explain what the charges are. But the stormwater may be more difficult to waive because those services would have been received. So Brad, could you come forward and tell us what you have on your records?
So with this property, like he said, it's changed hands a couple of times. We often don't get notification when properties change hands. So the account was left open. There are, all of these charges are adjustments from another account because we were never notified that the property was purchased. So what triggered us to look at this was the final sale. The new owner called to set it up. We went back and looked, had to go to the county auditor site and find the previous owners and adjust accounts for services. So I don't have the exact details of that, but storm is part of this charge.
Yep.
Yes. The first bill was a partial $30.40, and then there was a full bill of $68.78, which is just a minimum charge bill, including sewer, water, and storm. And then there's a couple of penalties for non-payment on that total.
So I guess the question is, can we differentiate what was incurred when Mr. Small owned it versus the
Yeah, all
other?
of this has been brought from the dates that he owned the property, and then the previous owner had dates from theirs put onto their account. So we've taken those service dates and moved those charges to the correct accounts. So all of this is his service, or the time that he owned the house. It was the services then.
So the water was actually used then?
There wasn't any usage on the account. It's just the minimum charge for water.
Because nobody called to have the water turned off.
Correct.
Okay.
So when he called in, I offered, like, if normally you would file for a waiver of minimum charge, you'd have a $75 fee, and that would be it. The water would be disabled. But no one called, no one canceled service, which is pretty common for us.
Okay. I think it's good.
Respond?
Sure.
To my knowledge, the water was never turned on. The previous owner, I understand, had it on a vacation shut off.
Did they provide you any documents of that?
No. But I know you go down and turn where the water comes into the property, there was no water there. It was shut off at the street.
How much are there in late fees?
So 10% on the first bill is $3.04. Second bill is $6.08. And then there's a $40 termination fee. I did not see record that there was a waiver of minimum charge on that property and that the water was disabled. But I could verify that.
I've owned property in Mount Vernon, rental properties, and many times the tenant would contract with the water department for water. They would live there, not pay their rent. I would evict them. They would turn the water on and leave it running until I got over there. And then I was told by the water department that the bill goes with the property. So I got stuck with an awful lot of water bills over the last 20 years, which is one of the reasons that it bothers me that now in a property where we didn't have service, I didn't contract for water, was never told anything about a waiver, and now I'm being charged this. Now, I don't understand what happens with the water bill goes to the new owner. It goes with the property. That was my understanding all these years. If that's not the case, then those years that I was stuck with water bills, then I shouldn't have been.
Well, I think what Brad's saying is during the time the property has been owned, he has allocated the bill to the owner at the time. Is that what you're saying, Brad?
Yeah, so the bill follows the property owner for the time that they had the property.
They own it, yes.
It wouldn't carry balance forward to the new owner.
So the fact that the person did not terminate service, they were also being billed for the time they owned the property. So the person you purchased the property from did receive a bill for minimum charges while it was not outside of service.
I don't know what he received. He had moved a few years prior to Tennessee. And, I owned it for less than 2 months. As I said, the first bill I ever received was after I sold the property. And just, surprised at late fees and charges and everything else for service that I did not receive.
All right, so for the commission, again, the chair cannot make a motion, but is there
For the storm sewer part, something we can't waive, correct?
I recommend not. That would
Right.
be for 2 months, that's $12,
Yeah,
because that service was received.
correct.
I'm okay with that.
I would make a motion that, you say that you ignored the first bill that was sent to you? You just didn't do anything with it? You didn't call
Well,
the water department?
because I'd already sold the property.
Okay. I would make a motion that we would waive the water bill, but keep the storm sewer portion of it.
Okay, clarification, you're saying water and sewer.
Oh, the water, what we can.
Yeah,
The water part, the water usage part, not the sewage and the stormwater runoff. Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying do you want to waive water and sewer because those were not used?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have any water service, it wouldn't
Correct.
have, the meter checks the wastewater too.
Correct.
You good with that?
I'd second.
All right, so we have a motion to waive the water, wastewater, and I will say late fees for this property. Is that
Yeah.
agreeable to
I'm
everyone?
good with that.
Okay, additional discussion. Does that work for you? That would be,
It does.
the bill would be $12.
I appreciate that.
Okay, all in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
George, thanks for coming in today, and
Thank you for your time.
yep, take care. Okay, is it Amy Allen?
Yeah.
Please come forward. I believe we had, you were on the agenda for last month, but we didn't have all the information. Go ahead.
Okay.
Introduce yourself and give us your address.
My name is Amy Allen. I live at 113 East Sugar Street.
All right. Tell us about your situation.
Okay, so I am a single grandmother of 2, and I decided that I was going to live my best summer, and I did. So I was gone most of the summer. I visited 14 states this summer. While I was gone, I had my son's friend mow my lawn, and he came to my house to mow my lawn. My water on the outside spigot was on. I have no idea who turned it on. I have no idea how long it was on for. He said it was a swamp
Wow.
when he turned it off. All I'm asking is the bill is super high, obviously. I think it was something like 40,000 gallons of water. I cannot afford to pay that. I just want to pay my regular bill, if that's possible.
Okay, some questions. So while you were gone, you were not on, you did not apply for like a vacation rate, like we talked about having the water turned off. Is that correct?
I did not know there was such a thing.
Okay. No, I think, I'll look at Aaron. If they do that, you have to have it off for 6 months. Is that right? What's your policy?
I think it's 3.
3
Yeah,
months?
3 comes to mind. Yeah.
Okay, 3 months. Okay, it looks like, I mean, looking at the record that Brad has provided us, there is a 1 very high consumption and then a lot of zeros. So it seems like the system was, you have 1 incident in 8/16/2023 shows I guess the consumption is in,
Are you looking at the second page?
yeah,
That's actually from Melissa Harding's from last month.
okay, so I'm not looking at the right page.
Nope.
Okay,
I don't have the breakdown for her account.
would you say it has a similar, did you see zeros and?
It's not nearly that high. She had, give me the.
Yeah, tell us about,
I'm sorry.
I was, you handed me this, so I
Okay,
thought it
yeah.
was for this
Well, so I
account.
pulled it from last month because I wasn't certain that she was going to be in today. So she had, her month's consumption was 2,600 cubic feet.
Okay.
The previous months, I believe she was closer to a minimum charge. Again, I don't have that with me right now.
Usually my bill's like 120.
120, so it's a little higher than minimum usage, yeah, but 26 would be considerably higher, and if I recall, it's been about almost 2 months since I looked at this one, and I look at it a lot, but I do believe that she stayed pretty standard in where she was, so it does look like that the consumption would corroborate the situation,
I do use it a lot,
yeah,
but not 300 and some dollars.
right. Yeah, I don't, that's all the detail I have right now, I can get you guys some more, but I don't
I
have it with
bought
me.
letters too from myself and the guy that mows my lawn.
Oh, so she brought this. So, the last meeting when we talked about this, you guys asked for a statement from the guy who found it.
This is his.
Okay, and then a little bit more detail on the dates, which she does have those too, if you guys would like to see them.
Yeah, can you pass this around quick?
Was there a police report or something along those lines?
No,
filed, or-
sir, because I think that it was my neighbor kids, but I can't say that for sure. So, like, I don't know who did it, so I can't really accuse anybody. And I didn't know that was something I should have done either. I mean,
Well, here you go. So, I mean, we did, last time we did ask for a statement from the person who witnessed it, if you recall from last meeting.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, is that we had asked for a police report. Because the feeling was is that that was a little bit extra, because it'd be against the law to file a false report with the police department.
what is that?
So the last person, and I have not been at the last two meetings, so the last time I was here with someone with this situation was we had asked for a police report versus just someone saying they saw this or found this, with us having the general belief that it's because it's a violation of law to file a false police report. So if someone says, I saw something, and you report that to the police department,
Right.
that's carried a little bit more weight with it, with the fact that over something such as this, that why would someone lie to the
Right.
police department about
Right.
something like that? It just added a little bit more weight to it versus not doing that, I guess.
Right. So what I had did, because like I said, pretty much the entire summer, I have not been in Ohio.
Right?
So after this incident, I did have my son go stay there at my house so that it didn't happen again.
Do you mind? I'll make a suggestion.
Well, so go ahead, Brad, and then I'll speak.
So as an alternate to that, we do offer like a pool credit or lawn watering credit, where we just waive the sewer charges. So maybe that would be a possible option, since we did not bring that water back.
So here's a question.
So
What,
which version?
do we know what is the dollar amount that we're talking about?
So the overage charges for sewer would be $115.63. Water is $77.50. That is on that sheet that I handed you there, in blue.
Okay, the top part.
Yeah.
You see the water. 77. Okay. All right. Okay, so for you, in the minutes we just approved, under this discussion, Mr. Braun recommended that we require,
Police report.
it doesn't say police report. It says a written statement from the witness that discovered the spigot left running. He mentioned a lack of details in the request. So we did not specifically ask for a police report last time.
So she was here last meeting.
Yes, this is an agenda item. It's in the middle of, it's on page 6.
In the middle there?
Yep.
Okay.
So I just, for consistency, because I know you weren't here, but
Yep.
that is what was asked for, specifically was a written signed.
She complied what we asked?
Yes, she
Okay.
has complied with what we asked.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I would make a motion then that we, it's the sewer, right? That we waive the sewer amount.
You have jurisdiction over both items.
So this amount, you weren't home at all?
No,
Not home at all, this was turned on?
Where
Yeah.
did we pass those over so he could see them? Okay.
and
Yeah.
I was gone all summer. I actually just got back last week again because I went to Iowa for 10 days, so
Okay,
I travel a lot.
yeah, no, I understand. So there was no, prior to this date, was there water usage at the house or very minimal?
It would have been normal
Okay.
usage.
So, can somehow from, on this date, we have a measured amount, so we just need to get her back to her normal bill, is what you're asking?
Yeah, I'd recommend going back to like a 3-month average is what
Okay.
we typically would do with an adjustment.
Okay.
Yep.
I would go with that. I would make a motion that we go back to that 3-month average.
Okay.
And make the adjustment for that, back to her normal water bill.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes, okay, we have a motion on the table to take this one-time overage and correct it back to a 3-month rolling average.
Okay.
Any discussion on that? You find that acceptable?
I'm good with that. Thank you very much.
Right, and I think from my perspective, if we think about this, you know, she's gonna be paying a minimum bill with
Right.
zero usage,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
we will be paid for that quantity of water. So there have been other motions, not as generous in the past, but because of being out of town, the minimum service bill is a little bit like an insurance policy, maybe. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming in. I'm glad to get some of these things resolved because they've,
Thank you so much.
yep, take care. All right. All right, you don't have any more citizens that are not on the agenda? We have a city council member here supporting us, I like that. Okay, discussion about shut-off fees. I think, Brad, we want to talk a little bit about the effort that we go through on a monthly basis to turn people off, turn them back on, and if we're covering our costs, if we think there's a better way to deal with non-payment. So maybe just tell us a little bit about how give us an overview of the shut-off process for the commission.
We start about a week ahead. System kind of generates a list for us on where we're at with previous months. Then we go through and we check. There's always some anomalies that we have to pull off for some reason or another. But usually by the time we boil it down, it's anywhere between 80 to 150 would be on the higher side of shutoffs. So that's, 80 to 150 addresses that we visit essentially twice. Most times we'll do shutoffs in the morning and then we'll turn on in the afternoon if bills are paid. Sometimes, people don't get off work before we close up, so they'll wait the night. And then the next day we start the cycle over to get the second half of the list. There are times where we can't get through the entire list in 2 days, so we've been adding people to try to get through those. So we're actually utilizing up to 4 guys to get this done from the distribution, collection, and meter group. It doesn't seem to stop. We have a decent amount of regulars. The $40 fee, they could save quite a bit if they were able to get back on track. And there are a lot of providers that assist with things like this.
So question about the assistance, do they have to be on the shut-off list to get assistance?
I don't know all of the rules. We try to stay out of that for the most part. We do provide some contact information, and after that we stop. So I do believe that there are some regulations that if they're not in a shut-off status that they cannot get the assistance. But I think there are other programs out there that do assist before that happens. But I don't know all the details on.
So you guys are advising people where they can get assistance with catching up on their water bill?
All we do is provide
Right.
contact information. They have to
Okay,
do
you
all
provide
of the
that to
legwork.
them. Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's fine.
Yeah, we have
That's nice.
three organizations that we just share numbers with,
Okay.
and those organizations have contacted us. So
Yeah.
several of those pay direct, right? So if
Yes.
someone applies for assistance, you would get payment
Yes, so
directly
typically,
from.
they will fax us a pledge, and we'll turn the service back on with that pledge, and then they typically cut us a direct check for that, and then settle up with us.
So the discussion is,
So many cities have adjusted that rate.
yeah,
So part of this is just bringing to the commission a systematic look at our rules and regulations, many of which are very old.
yeah.
Not saying that we need to take action on this, but it's just that we're trying to systematically look at this, and if it makes sense to change this rate or to change the procedure about shutoffs.
I think it's good to look at it. It's always good to circle back and look at stuff, but I think we should recoup our costs. There's no sense that if it costs twice as much to go through this process because someone's not paying their bill, I would say that we definitely need to seriously look at making sure that we're not doing that.
Right. And
So we definitely need to recoup our costs
right. And what I
on this
see
process.
now that we are behind on meter replacements. We got things the crew needs to be doing. We've discussed. So the meter department used to be three FTEs, and we've been in this situation where we've kind of always had someone about to retire for at least 6 years, and that we're losing. When John Golden retired, we had to call him for. We still call him. I mean, how is it? 3 years?
Luckily, he stops in to see us, so we don't have to
Yeah,
call
so
him.
he has office hours, right?
He has
He's
office
retired.
hours.
Because again, we're trying to operate at such a fast pace that
Yeah.
those hey, let me put my hand over your shoulder and like take you with me to show you where all the meters are and where all the records are, like that we haven't had time to do that.
Sure.
So we're suffering from kind of just operating in this emergency mode, and it's really difficult. When you're in the construction industry, you have mentorships, and if you're in the union, you have training and all these things that we don't have time for. And so that's one thing we're looking at. If we're going to go to council and ask for another person to help do this, is there a way we could do less of this?
Yeah.
And then that person could be more effective. So that's where we want to make sure we've looked at it thoroughly. And I don't know what other cities are doing, or if there's a magic point on the economic slide where folks are like, well, I should really pay that so I don't have to pay an extra $40 or.
Well, no, I agree with that, and at the very least, it's it hurts the rest of the community if it's putting other people behind in getting the services that they need because of someone else not doing what they should be doing as part of the community.
Yep.
And that's what hurts. It hurts the rest of everyone else that's paying their bills or expecting something to get done or needing something to get done.
And, Tammy Woods brought up a good point that, maybe the first time somebody forgets, the director of the office would have a leniency for a one-time offender kind of thing. But then,
we currently do a one-time as
Yep.
it is now, yeah.
right, but when you are habitual, we shouldn't be waiving those fees. They shouldn't be.
Yeah,
No.
we don't.
No.
Yep. So, we get it. Somebody has to change a bank account, or, their auto withdrawal gets canceled somehow. Like, there's things that happen once in a while, but on a regular, having a regular list of people. And I don't know if there's a way to partner with some of these service companies to help people get
So-
counseling or whatever to help.
Well, so we do also raise, we have an option port forward. I think you may have heard Christy bring that up. So we actually do offer a roundup option on our bills.
Yeah.
Which is building up a fund.
Sure.
And then the Salvation Army is operating
To help other
that.
people.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I think that's good. I mean, to do what we can, but I don't think it should cost the city extra to do that. To do those things like rounding up to help, like I think the gas companies and others do the same thing. And it's wonderful that we have a great community that, like Salvation Army and other organizations that help people out. But at the same time, I mean, if I ever missed a bill or forgot to pay something, the moment I got something, I got that taken care of in my life. And I think that, because when you don't do that and it's habitual, that's just hurting the rest of the customers of the water and sewer department. So yeah, no, I think it's great to go back and look at that and find a way to make it more efficient and go to city council and, or come here and then go to
Right.
city council to make recommendations.
Well,
Yeah.
so I believe we would have jurisdiction over the shut-off fee. I'll look at Rob, I'm not sure.
See, actually, I'm looking at that right now. The ordinance clearly gives the safety service director the right to set water rates, and council, of course, has the right to set the wastewater. So and then you guys have the right to do the other things necessary to run the utility. So based upon the specific grant of authority to the safety service director to set the water rate, and you guys having the authority to set the other things to run the utility, it is my opinion that the utility commission has the authority to set the water shut-off and reconnection fees.
Okay.
Nope, I would be fine if you guys put together something to present to this committee to make that decision.
Yeah, Brad, if you want to, your department wants to do some research and bring us back a recommendation in a month or so,
Okay.
we will definitely entertain it.
One of the other things we're looking at for the more habitual users is they have meters that Brad will be able to shut off from his house.
Oh, yeah.
Through the radio system, which they're substantially more than the meters we put in now.
Be interesting, how much manpower does that save? Because that's our biggest cost, besides the supplies or equipment if you gotta dig up lines. But in this process, it's the man hours, right? That's,
Save all the manpower, yeah. If you,
you'd save all of that
if you,
manpower.
well, if you're able to effectively find each one. There are some that are irregular. Right?
Sure.
So you'll always, I think, have those, because many times that's just somebody misplacing the bill, or,
Yeah.
you know, oftentimes it's an honest mistake, you know,
But
and
most people, if you call them or
gladly take care of it, yeah.
send them a letter saying, hey, you can get your water bill paid in 30 days, it's being shut off, probably 9 out of 10 of those people are gonna take care of that bill.
Right.
Yeah. And that's fine. Everybody forgets something from time to time. I understand that. But if you've got people that just aren't paying their bill and they're habitual about it, that's a completely different story.
Do we have a conversation, like, say, people who maybe they're on their second or third time, do we kind of refer them to say, hey, you know, or we're in this discussion of, if you waive the fee the first time, you say, hey, we maybe let's really think about auto pay? Do we have those discussions? I'm sure you
We
do.
offer auto pay to everyone. Council made sure that there was an option that was free for auto pay. Also, our credit card provider, our clearinghouse provider, charges a small fee, and they also have that option where
Yeah.
customers set it up themselves. So there's lots of opportunities to set up for auto pay.
But this is a regular, I mean, you're discussing that on a regular basis.
We recommend that all the time. It makes our life easier, their life easier.
Yeah.
Do we know, are these homeowners or renters? I mean, is this something to where if someone's habitually not doing that?
If I had to, without looking at the list and doing a little more detail, I'd have to say the majority of them would be renters, but I
Okay.
would have to verify that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago, AEP changed out the electric meters, and those are all set up to where they can be remotely deactivated. It also helps, like, you know, if there's a fire or something, the fire department can call AEP on the way and get the stuff turned off.
Yeah.
Instantly, because they have the
Yeah.
transmitter in them.
Or
So,
water line breakage, or somebody calls, they're on vacation for 3 months and say, hey, my son just found the water line turned on outside the house. Can you shut that off for me? You could do that.
yeah.
We would go do that now, but yeah.
Oh,
with
yes, I know,
remote, it'd be much faster.
but it would save money if you
Yeah.
just pushed a button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's, we were looking at maybe getting 5 to 10 of them, just to kind of put them out there, see how it would work before we made a
Sure.
big investment.
So we don't have any of those working in the system now.
I believe Knox County does, and we could probably contact them and get some information on performance
Yeah.
from them, get some
Sure.
some recommendations. I think they're running several. Maybe I think they were switching to 100% of those in time.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Okay, we don't want to use too much time, but is there anything else, Brad?
Not for that.
Great. All right. Let's move on to water plant update.
As we sit right now, they are in the process of changing out the butterfly valve for the CO2 contact base. We had the plant shut down. today and get her back on service here in a couple hours. So that's been a issue for 13 years. We can't switch from side to side. So that will be taken care of, and then we'll get on a routine where 1 month we run one side, next month we run the other side. The new CO2 panels are installed, so we're ready to go. Prior to that, we had one side that only one CO2 panel feed system. We have that taken care of. We're in talking with Kekosing on our drive for our clarifier. We should have that pulled out this month sometime, and then we're going to ship it to Florida to get it rebuilt, and then we'll reinstall it. And then we'll do the other side. It's been 23 years since anything's been done. It's time for routine maintenance on that. Lime silos, we're kind of in final design on that, getting that ready to go. I think mid-October is supposed to have the numbers back in. So.
Yeah, we have a supplier identified, and obviously it's under contract, but getting what we call the submittals and the details to make sure the elevations are all correct with the manufacturer, and then Kekosing will be involved in the install. One thing I want to highlight with the water plant, when Aaron talks about people out there working, it is actually our city forces doing this. This is a great thing to see, is our distribution collection crew are at the water plant working shoulder to shoulder with the staff. This is an in-house project, and super proud of those two groups coming together. A lot of credit to previous employees on redoing the union contract, so we can have guys in one department helping another department, and they seem really happy. I mean, last time when they were prepping for this, they were glad to be there and helping out. So
Gives a sense of camaraderie, unity in the city.
and it's, you know, when they're out there working together, using a backhoe, using all the equipment, and we have emergencies, they've practiced working together. You know, I've been out in the middle of the night a few times where you got to bring people in that aren't used to working together, and it's a little touchy sometimes when people don't know hand signals and things, so it's really good to do this. All
Right. The other major thing we have going on this week is Gray Matters in town. We're rewiring our control panels for the filters. I think as of yesterday afternoon, they were done with the last control panel. They were starting to test the actuation of the valves. So we're on track for that. And there again, we're doing that all in-house. Josh and our maintenance. Gray Matters. That's a huge cost savings.
Yeah, and once this is operational, it should lower our overtime rate, because the number of people it takes to backwash manually is a lot more than one person operating the computer. So
That'll be our next step. Bob from Gray Matter has the program built, and then we'll start running tests on that to make sure our timings are right, everything's functioning as it should.
very good. Okay, any questions or comments on the water plant update? Great. Okay, Clinton water system expansion in Clinton Township. So in the 2003 master plan for the city, there is an expansion plan that was adopted. Then we also have the city contract with the Clinton Sewer and Water District, one for water, one for wastewater. In the water contract, which is a 50-year contract, there are multiple phases of expansion. The discussion would be phase 1A, the area that most people call Dogtown. So that is the Kekosing River, Harcourt Road, Columbus Road. We have a line on Harcourt and a line on Columbus, and then we have sort of a Bermuda Triangle where there isn't water service. Emily Platt had initially pulled that area a few years ago with Keith Burley, and we had about a 35% interest rate in getting city water. You know, the area has a shallow aquifer. There's several health departments reported several cases of bacteria in the water. We have water to sell. The other aspect of this is the federal aid. This is one of the only areas that we can qualify for receiving federal aid. because of the rates they pay are high enough to qualify, and their income area is low enough. So what our grant writers have been telling us is this area is trending out of low income, and our window of grant options are going to be smaller, particularly after Intel opens and the job market kind of lifts everyone up a little bit. So as we've been working on strategic planning, the mayor has, I guess, wanted us to look at these areas seriously, because as we have more work to do at the plant, the more customers we have, the easier it is to pay for this work on the plant and the system. So these are nearby potential customers. The other aspect is the aid would not be, there's ARPA money available, there's aid that won't be around forever. So the mayor wanted us to discuss the option of building this in a single phase as a large project versus a series of smaller projects over 10 or 12 years. So the idea of a large project would be applying for some sort of loan, which would either be through the EPA or potentially the USDA, and trying to get a loan grant combo through one of these programs. So I don't know if there's something this group has interest in. The economics of it, Keith Burley, if we were to pay cash, he felt confident that this would pay off in about 45 years. And then the type of water line we're putting in, to our opinion, has a minimum life of 100 years, because we've upped our standards, because we don't get around to replacing it every 50 years. So that's, we can provide more details, but we don't necessarily need to vote on this today, but it's a topic to think about. If we are going to do it, the first application will be due in February 2024.
I'm interested in hearing more about it. Is there a way to refresh your survey as far as the interest of how long ago was it when you surveyed people to see their interest in it?
Probably 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, is there a way you could refresh that survey?
Yeah, we could send it out again. I'm not sure.
Because, I think once there'd be a water line installed, there'd be more people interested in doing that and hooking into that, particularly if it was paid for by someone else. Federal aid is what you're saying, maybe would pay for them to hook up into it.
Yeah, Dixie Drive, everybody had to pay for their own service.
Yeah.
We initially had a 50% interest, and at the end of the day, I look at Brad, I think everybody hooked up at one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's what
one or
would
two,
happen.
so we'll say yeah. Because in that geology, people have softeners, RO systems.
Yep. They've got other costs they're spending now.
Right.
And if you look at Delco, how they started and grew, obviously by putting in water lines and a water system, people must like it, because that was really expanding a water system before people were moving in.
Yep.
And obviously people were hooking into it.
Right. The other thing this aligns with is, there's a lot of concern right now with developments consuming cornfields.
Yep.
This would be also a partnership with ADF, because they've done several studies in these neighborhoods, and there's several empty lots. And the goal, one of ADF's strategic goals, is to put houses and structures on empty lots where some or all of the utilities are already there. So this would be a sort of a partnership with their efforts.
No, I definitely want to like to hear more about it, because I do think it would help. It helps that area. It helps the city. It helps the community as a whole, I think a project like that does.
I would also note that the administration is working hard at infill here within the city. And while we
Yes.
don't have the issues of water line, I think that infill is something that we need to take a good hard look at, and we're really trying to help move that process along with the rewrite of the zoning code.
Yep.
Yep. And again, we're bringing this to the commission Emily Platt and our team have spent, Keith Burley, when he was on this commission, spent hundreds of hours with the township trustees and different members of their utility board. They've requested specifically for us to design and construct water on Crystal Avenue because they have received enough requests that they've essentially petitioned us to do that work. We've received enough. So the future, because of the requests that we have already received, the future effort for this would not be an enormous lift to just make the application. So the project has been thought about in phases. Several of those phases already have EPA permits. So it's not a enormous lift to take those next steps to the application process. And again, we shop around a little bit and see which agency gives us the best deal. Okay, we can put something together for our next meeting. So let's keep that. We can move that one to old business. Okay, Brad, you're up again. If you want to talk about where we are on aged accounts.
So as far as the age accounts go, we've actually started by focusing on potential liens from older accounts. We started with a list of just over 700, and we had to go through those. It's been a while since we've done the lien process because we lost manpower that was familiar with it. So we kind of reinvented the wheel. We went back to the county. We asked them what they needed. We went to our billing software, showed us how to get through it, and then we had to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. So we've taken our little over 700. It's dwindled down to 225, around 225. And we actually plan to print those notifications to send out this month. And then we'll have to send the county information by the end of November. So this next lien cycle will clean up the majority of our overdue accounts. Now there are some that we weren't able to recover because the properties have sold or something of that nature. And then we did look at dropping off the 25 and below areas. Typically when you look through those, it's situations where they're just a little behind on the total bill. So either they are somebody that had paid ahead and stopped, or we have a couple instances where our water rate increases have thrown some people off their schedule a bit. And when I say that, I mean that there are a lot of people that use payment providers or have their bank cut their checks. When they have their bank cut their checks, they have to set the amount.
Yeah.
So if they didn't update that when the water rate changed, then they are slowly getting a forwarded balance. And if they're not watching their bills, then eventually it starts to accumulate a little bit. So the majority of those people have hit that spot, realized it, and started fixing that. So I expect that a lot of those 25 and below will clean themselves up.
So the plan is not to put those on lien, is to try to work with those folks, just communicate with them separately.
Yeah, I believe that's.
So are these amounts that you're saying, are these the amount they owe or the number of liens? Like you mentioned 700.
700 was the total list that our system kicked
So you had
out.
700 people that had liens.
They met the requirements for a lien to be applied.
Okay. And then you whittled that down to where it's
It's about 225.
225. Roughly.
Around
right,
that,
sure,
yeah.
I get that.
I didn't get the final number. It's kind of wrapping up today and tomorrow, so.
So the difference between there, some of those, because you mentioned, did they pay those, did they catch up and pay their bills?
Some have paid,
Okay.
so they will drop off.
Those will drop off, but what about the ones that haven't paid?
So there are a lot that are under $5. So that
Okay.
number, that 700 number sounds really high.
Yeah.
But many of those was like a change situation based, and I believe based on the few that I've checked, it looks like they do an automatic payment check, and it's off because of our rate increase, right?
Right,
So I think
okay.
most of those are going to get cleaned up as those people realize that balance is building.
Okay.
And then the between 25 and 5, a lot of those fall into that same category.
And you're talking dollars there, between
Dollars.
25 and $5. It's because of,
Yeah. So
they
more
just
than-
said bank pay $50 a month and it's really $52 a month.
exactly.
And so that amount caught up, and those people are catching up.
Right. And so I would say that half of that 700 and some were below 25.
Okay.
The remainder, some people paid as time has gone on, just the normal process. Others properties have been sold, and we can't lien a property that's not owned by that person anymore.
So, but did the property that was sold have a lien on it?
It did not.
Well, so here's,
This is
That's where I'm at, because
here's where
Okay.
part
I
of the
thought
problem
that's
is.
what the lien was if that property sold, that the city would get its money for that past
Right,
due amount.
but here's where the problem is. I mean,
Yeah.
the ordinance requires this to be done once a year.
we
And
haven't done it.
with a void and, with the almost 2-year void in management, it wasn't
Okay.
done.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna say
Yeah,
we haven't
my-
done this for 2
Yeah,
years.
the person I followed
Sure.
was never shown how to do it, and the
Oh,
person
okay.
before that's the last one that had actually done the last process. And
Okay.
then that process was not done well. We didn't do it through the system. We
Okay.
just went through and eyeballed them and pulled them, and it wasn't handled very well, so it was very messy, right?
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I came in, nobody was really able to guide me in that process. So
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to the county to get what they needed from us, and then we contacted our billing software and said, hey, how do people do this process within your billing system? So we got a walkthrough of that. That generated our list, and then we've been going through that list with a fine tooth comb for the last probably almost month.
So you're fixing a broken system.
I am trying
Okay.
to, yes.
Yep,
Yes.
right. So let's review. So
I appreciate that.
Brad is the first person ever to have his job.
Yes.
His job did not exist.
Okay.
Before that, the director took a lot of,
Yeah.
did this work. Our long-term director retired, and then we had 2 years of sort of temporary management, and that stuff didn't get done.
Okay.
So that is a cost of
Yes.
not having
People.
people in
something.
the right positions. Brad
Yes.
worked here, but he didn't work in this department. So
Okay.
our feeling is Brad is the right person, in the right job. We have people that are sewer-only customers that wait for us to they don't pay at all. They wait for us and they only pay it through their taxes. So we have people who have racked up no payment for 2+ years.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, mine.
And they pay it on their taxes.
Sure,
That's
that's
how
good.
they want to do
Okay.
it. They're willing to pay the extra to do that.
Okay.
But again, we're
Yeah.
going to have a lot of discussion with those folks probably because they've expected to see it on their taxes a couple times. But
Okay.
so I think it's a very important process to get through. The other thing, typically we would do a write-off on about a 10-year cycle. So as we look at these accounts where people have passed away, their estates are closed, they've moved away, and they owe us $5, at some point, not now, we would want to consider this group doing a write-off to clean up.
Yeah, so essentially all of those are on this list. So we're going to maintain that list. We're not
Yep.
just wiping it out. Once we send those letters out, those ones kind of get put on hold. They get certified, right? So it pulls it off the accounts, balances them out, and then we wait for collections. The remainders can be pulled up again if they grow. So if they aren't corrected in the way that we think they will be, they can be generated the next lien process as well.
The ones that are under $25, if they continue not to pay, we will have a cycle for liens.
Okay. So are these all like written policies or rules that we follow?
I believe they're within our rules and regulations.
They're in the rules
The
and
lien
regulations.
process,
And there's
look at Rob,
Yeah.
is in the city code, right?
I don't think it's as detailed as what we're building
No,
the process.
it
They're
talks
building.
about the use of liens in the city code. It does not
Right.
talk about the specific process that Brad is effectively creating here.
yeah, that's what I'm asking. We're
Yeah.
creating that process
We're
now.
creating a process, but the code specifically in 917, I think it's in 97 or 919, I forget which one, talks about, the lien process for unpaid. So it clearly says that this is what we're going to do. It doesn't say how we're going to go about doing the liens on
Sure.
taxes. That's what he's doing.
Right, okay.
As part of the rules of the utility commission.
Right.
So do we have actual liens on properties currently for
Yes.
unpaid
Yes.
water bills?
Yes, we do.
So we do.
We've received 2 checks from the last 6-month run. So there are some that have been standing out there that never
Right.
paid from the previous ones, and we've received
Yeah.
some of those
You do.
funds.
Okay.
And
All
once
right.
the liens are on the property, they stay there.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so again, if someone
Okay.
had a lien and didn't sell, then they're just now selling the property, it will cash out when they sell the property, and then,
Right.
now, it is there's a hierarchy of order who gets paid.
We're
county.
probably last.
Yeah, the county,
Well-
and then we're maybe in the middle, I don't know. The
We're,
county
so-
made some
we're
changes.
somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But, you know, oftentimes a lot of these people who are not paying their water and sewer fees are also not paying other stuff, such as their taxes. And
Yes.
so, on a somewhat regular basis, the county files tax foreclosures. And when they do that, then we get paid as part of that process
Okay.
rather than when the property would transfer.
All right, so other questions for Brad or the discussion about the,
No,
this
just don't
process.
take me asking questions. I think you guys are doing great, because one of the things I want to see the city do is improve on processes. That way council knows and can easily look at and say, yeah, is there really a need for additional manpower or different positions? And I think by cleaning that stuff up, I think that makes it easier for council
Yeah.
to be able to
having a
decide that.
Defined
For-
process, knowing how to use the system,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things
Yeah.
are important. So this first run is going to kind of teach us that, right? And then this will be on an automatic cycle, so we
Oh,
can
yeah.
get this out every 6 months because we send it twice a year to the county is when they add it to the account. So we'll have our process lined up a month before theirs so that we can send out, because we have to send out a 30-day notice and then get them our information. So
Sure.
it'll be added to our normal yearly cycle. So it shouldn't fall behind like it is right now again.
Yeah.
And it will be documented. We'll have work instructions. So, you know, if I'm not here anymore, something happens to me or anybody over at the office, there's a clear path of this is how we do it. This
That's
is how Mount
the-
Vernon does it.
I understand. I've worked in government long enough, and I've been through some of these processes, and it's hard. And a lot of times the public as a whole thinks that government has, even though they joke about not having government work right.
Right.
A lot of government does, but there are places where government, people think things are working a little smoother than what they are, I guess. So-
Yeah,
No, I
did-
think it's great.
I did before I came here, so
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's good.
Right, and I think it's clear process,
Yep.
again, also helps people realize that, you know, if they don't pay the bill, it will be applied to their
Correct.
taxes, and there's a process, and.
Yes.
And it's fit with the main goal is to be fair to everybody.
Yeah.
So, all right, great work, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next is Hampton Inn utility connection. And this may be some questions for Rob. So, we have a groundbreaking later today. The folks at Hampton Inn, first of all, had their architects design their water meter and asked for a 4-inch water meter at the new fees, which is over $80,000. They were quickly talked into a 3-inch water meter, and which is a $50,225 connection fee with the fire line, and then they have asked for a payment plan because they are not going to be open for a little bit. So we have in the past done payment plans. The question for Rob, in the last discussion of this, we're not specifically allowed to charge interest. Is that correct?
There is nothing in the rules that particularly speaks to that. As we're sitting here talking about it, there are actually some Ohio statutory interest rates, and I'm just trying to think about how they apply.
So while Rob's looking at that, I guess the question for this group is this group willing to discuss a payment plan for the Hampton Inn project? It would be wastewater. It would be water and sewer. The
What?
wastewater is $24,600.
A couple of questions. Are they receiving any other city or government subsidies to move the business here or create the business here? And why would we give a subsidy? Would we give a subsidy to a developer or to a landlord or anybody else building a house if, say, they needed
So
some extra time to get things in order?
So when we did Dixie Drive, we offered a 3-year 5% to everyone in the project area because each homeowner had to hire a plumber and
Okay.
decommission their wells and it was a lot of expense to get connected. So we set up what Brad calls a 95 account, and they could wait until they had the money to connect to water, or they could connect immediately, and then they'd have basically two water accounts, one for the regular service and one that was a loan account we call a 95 account.
Okay.
And they made payments. Council specifically authorized us to charge them that interest rate in that project. Then we had discussed this on some other projects, and we weren't sure if we were legally allowed to charge interest, or if we could just have maybe a flat fee for basically someone else, so one of our customers using our money while they're connected. So we have done this before.
I actually think that you certainly have the authority to set a fee to do a
Like a
to
flat
pay-
fee
to
for
do a payment plan. That's clearly within your authority. The interest rate is the thing that I don't have a lot of good.
we're not sure that it
Yeah.
is legally acceptable
So-
without specifically asking council for permission to apply an interest rate.
So yeah, so you guys, you set the tap fees, you can clearly do a fee for if you're going to give them some sort of payment plan.
Yeah, we could assess a flat fee.
So we could set a fee to where they're not basically taking out a loan from the city water department.
Right, there would be a fee for using that money.
For using, yeah.
If we set if it's a 3-year payment plan, or if we say it's 3 years and then there's a due date. Yeah,
Did they specify how long, like a payment?
basically, I think they need the water because of the inspections. They need to have the water on to get through all the inspection. And I think they basically like to be open for about a year and then make the payment. But we can say, I mean, that's what they're asking for. We don't have to
Right.
say yes to everything. We can say, hey, we'll set a certain date or a certain fee. We can do it could be an annual fee. We could have a fee.
I guess we're having discussion right now, right?
We'd like to make a decision today.
I'd prefer to see what the fees would be. I don't have a problem helping anybody out with stuff. We've helped people out here today, and we've done it other. But I have a problem with letting them basically take a water loan out on us. With our, I would just like to see what the fees. I mean, I'm fine with the fees. I just think setting up a payment plan as long as they're covering those costs. So if we have to have a fee to do that, to make sure we're not losing anything,
Right.
and if they're borrowing from us, that we're not losing anything, I'm fine with that. But I just would need to, I don't have any idea how much that is or what that would be.
Last time we did a 3-year 5% for Dixie Drive. So, and I guess we also have to answer your question. I'll look at Rob. At this point, I don't believe that from the city, they have not received any incentives.
No, actually, we specifically, I was in a discussion with ADF and the mayor about whether or not we would provide any incentives to them. And the decision was made not to provide them any incentives, and they then still chose to go ahead with the construction.
Right.
Yep. So they'll be paying full price for, there's no tax incentive, there's no rebates or anything through other things.
Okay.
So, we could say,
Because you need to kind of estimate, I mean, I don't know if you guys can come up with estimated water use or whatever the correct fee amount would be to cover that.
well,
I just
these
don't
are
wanna-
we're only asking for a loan on the capacity fee. So those are flat. So the capacity fee for water is $50,250, and the capacity fee for wastewater is $24,060. So those two, he's willing to pay the cost of the meter, the permit fees, fire line fees. He's willing to pay all the other fees immediately, and then he wants a deferral on just the capacity fees. So the other thing I think is if we say, well, we need to give them a picture to say if it's okay, so do we want to, okay, let's just discuss this. So say, okay, that's 74,850. Do you want to apply a flat 6%, 7%, and say that's annual fee on the
Okay.
balance? You
Yeah,
guys-
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of looking for numbers to make sure that it's not, they're not getting an added benefit that anybody else in the community wouldn't get. If I was like, you know what, I don't want to I can't pay my water bill right now, but I need a year or 3 years to pay it off. When I'm just building a house. You just did for Dixie Drive, you charge 5%. I just think they should be treated the same as anyone else that we've done that with.
Right, and at that point, interest rates were a lot lower too.
Right.
So, we had Terry, I think, look up, can't remember what it was called, but,
I mean, if we need to make a decision at next meeting, I'm fine with that, if you can give us.
no, we need to make a decision today.
Oh, you do, so
I'm
if you
meeting
can,
with him
if
in
you,
a couple hours to make this offer.
oh, well, if you can give me a number, I'll be happy to make a motion.
Yep,
Just for my behalf, right, on the billing side, we do have payment plan options within the system. But if we do a recalculation on a yearly basis, that's way outside of our normal process. So we're gonna have to find a way to schedule that and remind ourselves that needs to happen, because every month we're doing our cycles trying to keep up with things. So if I was allowed to make a suggestion, I would prefer that there was a flat rate at the beginning and set the date. That way we can install that into the system. It'll bill them monthly out of their same account. We'll have all the information in the same place. If there's ever any questions, we can see what was done.
Right, the fee amount.
Yes.
Yes, that's
the
what
fee
we're,
will be upfront.
I think
So-
that's what we're looking at as far as
But
what's the correct fee amount to charge that?
right, but if you allow them to pay what they want, right, and then we have to recalculate interest again for the second year if it goes into that, then that becomes a lot more process for us, because we can't do that systematically. We'd have to do that by hand. So I'm just asking that if you can do a flat rate, have an end date, and then reassess after that if it needs to be, would make it much easier on us to collect that.
Yeah, set a time period.
would stay
It's
systematic.
Whatever it is, 1 year and then recess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's not a trigger to do that if we schedule that, right?
Okay.
So the system's not gonna come up and say, hey, you guys need to check this, right?
Somebody has to write it down on a calendar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Current interest rate right now?
On what? On say a house? I don't know. I think a 30-year mortgage is probably like 7.7. Yeah. What that would equate into a fee
Yeah,
versus
so
an
Aaron's
interest.
done the calculations, so it's 7%, flat fee would be $5,201.70.
Okay. I would make a motion then that we give them the, what is it, their request of a year, is it? Is their request a year?
Let's say how about, we could say 1 to 3 years that they have to pay on the initial principal flat fee. So when they set the term, then we'll say, here's the fee.
And you'll figure that at
We'll say, say 7% per year. And it's a flat fee on the total up to 3 years. So they're incentivized heavily to pay it enough in 1 or 2.
Sure.
Because if it's, you would pay, it would be $5,201.70 each year that the loan is out there.
And can we put a trigger in there to help the people that are calculating these bills then?
Well,
That
they would enter into agreement with this, with
Okay.
the commission upfront, and those, it would be a upfront,
So that'd be upfront payment of that amount.
well, it would be, there would be a, it would be basically, if they say they want a 3-year agreement, we apply 3 charges,
Okay,
give them a total.
okay,
Or if it's a 2-year agreement, we apply 2 charges.
sure.
So they're more incentive to pay it off, because our guess is the interest rates are gonna go up.
Sure.
So it's not a compounded situation, it's a flat
Well, it's a
initiation
fee.
fee. Because we're not charging interest, we're charging a
A
fee.
fee, correct. So they'd be incentivized to pay it in a year.
Yep.
3. Yeah. All right, might need, I think probably need help crafting this with the wording. No, so I would make a motion that we go with that. I would make a motion then that we do a 1 to 3 year agreement with a flat 7% fee
On the initial principal.
on their initial cost or principal.
Second that.
Great. Okay, I'll restate it. The commission is authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter a payment agreement with the Hampton Inn property owner for a 1 to 3 year payment plan, each year receiving a flat fee of $5,201.70. The price or the terms to be agreed on upfront before the loan is initiated.
The payment plan is initiated.
The payment plan is initiated. That sound good?
Yes.
In other words, complicated. Okay, let's take a roll call vote.
Mr. Ball,
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt,
Yes?
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
All right, this is approved. Okay, question on, as we start to roll into 2023, roll out of 2023 into 2024, sorry. The meetings were set, time and date based on staff availability. We have several new faces. Is this time and date a good for our 2024 calendar? Does it work for you, Rob? I know.
Yeah, worked really well for me.
I'm pretty flexible. I work at the school Mondays and Tuesdays. Is what I committed to for the next school year.
And Thursday's a good day for you.
Yeah,
Unless
Thursdays
it-
work really well for
If
me.
it needs to be in the evening, it's fine too. Whatever, I'm good. I know.
That work for you, Brad?
But it's probably good it's first thing or last thing of the day, but this is fine with me.
Okay. Yeah, again, several of the folks here would receive overtime, not us, if we were outside of work hours, so we try to avoid that. We have a lot of meetings outside of work hours that incur overtime. Okay, we'll get with Todd and make sure we keep rolling on that. Okay, Brad is back up for new bill printing vendor options.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about manpower and how much effort it takes. Wanted to pass these out real quick.
Thank you, sir.
There's 2. I don't know why.
Well, that's okay. We usually have, check my calendar.
Okay, so we've recently been getting quotes and entertaining the option to be able to take our bill printing, stuffing, and mail outside of the city. Currently, we handle that in the office. It takes a rough estimate of 30 man-hours each time we run this each month. I've kind of broken down the cost. So the green section is what it costs us in-house. The top section in green is the actual materials and equipment required for that. The bottom section, I've kind of added in some alternate benefits, right? So that 30 hours of manpower essentially costs us $923.70. a payment return envelope, which is probably one of the most requested things out of our office from our customers. Our machine does not currently allow us to do that. We can't add a return envelope, nor can we perforate papers, which are big complaints that we get probably every single day. So
Sorry.
so yeah, it's a funny one, but we're apparently the only utility that they tell us that does not offer that. So so we looked at different options. We reached out. Some reached out to us. I have 3 that we spent considerable amount of time talking with. They all provided us quotes. I've been on a phone call with all of them. Spent a couple hours talking to each one. It was difficult to take their quotes and make it match what we do on a daily basis because all of their quotes kind of came in differently. So I actually got on the phone with them. We went over our current numbers for the month of August, and this is the actual cost that we would have received from the vendors for our check run or our bill run from the month of August billing. What I wanted to point out was that their mail rate is much lower than ours because of their volume. And I think the majority of what they are making their money from is that. They do not mark that up. That's actually how they get their business and are able to do their process. The only area that I was not able to calculate exactly is the bulk mail postage. And what that is if we have a business or a landlord that has multiple bills going to the same address, we typically hand sort all of those out. We put those in manila envelopes. That saves us a decent amount of postage and makes it convenient for the receiver to process. When you run those through the other businesses, they have to have weights on those to give us cost. So I captured the cost of the printing in the envelope, but I wasn't able to capture cost of weight for postage. But essentially, theirs should be better than ours because they have a better rate. So if you look at the bottom line, this is the actual calculated cost for us to operate. So I believe if we are able to get into contract with one of these vendors, we can actually net a savings on having them process our billing and mailing and provide a much better service to our customers, as well as free up a considerable amount of time for the office to focus on some of these things that we've been trying to correct, because that's been our biggest struggle is we know there's a lot of things that need some work. We don't exactly have enough manpower time to focus on those, so they're all moving very slowly. So we've been looking at ways to improve our manpower without adding cost. And I believe this is one of the best ways that we can do it.
So this is monthly?
This will be monthly.
So you'd be looking at roughly $18,000 a year savings.
Yes.
And then that's not causing anyone to lose a job or position. That's putting them to work at other things.
Absolutely not. I need more
Okay.
manpower.
Okay.
So yes, that will be reapplied manpower.
Okay.
We will apply that to several other things that could use some tuning up.
Okay.
And I know Brad's manpower here is probably low compared to what it is.
Yeah, I was surprised that 30 hours of manpower is only $923. That's pretty cheap.
I know he has countless hours.
It's an overall
Yeah.
average.
Right.
I currently spend a decent amount of time. We have one person that spends pretty much the whole time for 3 days. Then we
Okay.
have to support them with sort because we hand sort it just
Right.
about every single bill.
Okay.
I know there's been nights where Brad's been here till 10 o'clock at night.
The whole
because of
crew.
software glitch or
Yeah.
equipment glitch. Him and Ben on both of them.
Yeah, and our envelope stuffer is at the end of its life. They say it's 5 years typically, just like printers and computers. We're on 6 years, and it is having some issues. We do have a maintenance contract that we pay, which is calculated into this. I also calculated the cost of replacing the machine into this, so this current in-house cost would be us buying a new machine next year and continuing to pay for the service costs, right?
Okay.
I do believe we would keep that machine if we are to go outsource because we do lend our machine to other areas often. They don't put nearly the throughput that we put through it. We do 5,500 a month. Oftentimes engineering will come over to send letters out. We'll get tax office come over and they'll run it. So we'll still be able to hold that machine. We'll probably drop the service contract to save that money and maintain that machine, without the must of having it done every 30 days.
So is this, so the next step of this is that, I think it's great that you did this, and I like the whole idea of it. So these are the people that you surveyed. So is this something where then you would then go to All right, InfoSend, that's where I came up with that roughly 18,000.
Yes.
I didn't, which would be kind of similar with Jim Hoffman too.
Yeah, those
But,
two I would say are the front runners. I've been
Yeah.
in contact with them a lot. I've talked about, one of the big concerns for us is that once we don't maintain our equipment like we used to, we don't have the paper and envelopes on hand
Right.
to quickly switch back.
Okay.
Do they kind of have us? And so the conversation, they've been willing to write something in the contract about a max increase.
Yeah.
But they all have been doing business for a long time with many vendors, and I don't believe it to be a huge risk for us to go with them and then see a huge spike in cost. I think you'll see an increase, each year as materials go up, and we've seen through COVID, paper's gone up, So I don't have a fear that it's going to be more expensive for us, and if it does, we can buy a machine and start doing it ourselves again. But I think the majority of utilities and billing providers are outsourcing just based on the equipment that they have available to them, the rates that they get in first class mail, because they can do pre-sort and send it directly to the sort facility. We do some of that, but ours is still a higher rate because we don't have the volume.
Right.
So, and we've been seeing a lot of issues with USPS. Since I've been here, we've had 2 or 3 months where bills didn't get out before the due date, at least some of them, and many times way too many, right?
Sure.
So this process also comes with, and I should have put that on here, it also comes with first class tracking. So 93% of all letters that get sent out will be updated through their system, and we can see where they're at. So if we do have a customer call in and say they didn't receive their bill, we can actually identify if it was a USPS issue or if they did receive it, so we'll have some proof there. Also, we get the return envelope, we get perforated returns. They'll be able to print our flyer that we put on the back. We have the option to add additional flyers, multiple sheets,
Okay.
and then, there's a price to that. So
Sure.
it's per piece. So anything that we increase or add, if we switch to color, all of those things would scale up
Okay.
at a reasonable rate.
Now, would we utilize them for shut-off notices, or things like that, or that would stay in?
No, we would likely keep those smaller runs in-house. We could. They will do that. You have to have it on a schedule, right? So you have to give them like 3-4 days to process. So they also offer some bill customization. Our billing software is pretty limited on the bill structure. Each of these companies do. The Jim Hoffman company actually does full customization, so your bill would look more like a Columbia bill or something like that. InfoSend also offers that. There's additional charge to that process, which Jim has one too. InfoSend recommends keeping the same one that we have, and they can actually modify it the way it is. So there's lots of options, and I still plan on talking quite a bit more. They both offered to do a test run for us to verify that we're happy. So this isn't something I want to do tomorrow.
Sure.
I would like to do it sooner than later, but I would like to get some test runs in, and then I can come back to you guys and let you know what I find out. If you're okay with me going this direction, I've spent as much time as I probably want to spend on it if we don't want to move towards this direction. So
I'm not sure we need a motion.
No, I didn't think so. This is like you're telling us you're doing good work.
But I guess we could look at it in the aspect of, are there any objections? Because I believe this would be at the director's discretion to take this action.
Yeah, it's below the
Purchase.
amount that we're required to go before city council.
Yep. So I just say if we don't have any objections, you're welcome to proceed with test runs and continue talking to vendors.
okay, yeah, and then we'll obviously use up the stock that we have before we make that jump too, I think.
Yep.
So we'll get
All right,
that
I have to
scheduled.
be across town here pretty soon.
Okay.
If we can, we're going to dispense with old business.
Motion to dismiss.
Second.
Second?
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Want these back?
Yeah, we want
Yes.
to keep those with.
Yeah, those are-
Yeah.
Yep. Great work.
Good job, Brad.
Talk amongst yourselves if you need to. I can go break some ground on a hotel.
Oh, John, I can't wait till January.
Lacey's got that.
I signed that, and I give it to